Hello, a whole one viewer. It's been a while since my last video on the channel or anything that I've done in the YouTube or creative video wise. It's been quite of a year or more, and now I decided to get back to it and maybe try a bit different thing. So last thing that I was working on was mostly like back in 1.5 years ago. It was Rust and operating system and all that stuff. So it's not that interesting to me anymore. So yeah, basically I learned everything that I wanted to learn and went forward. In this stream I want to I started working and develop a library. I call it GUM. It's a GoUserManager. The idea is a library that will take away all this repetitive tasks. Whenever you start a pet project, it needs creation of the users, it needs some basic authentication, authorization, it needs a way to handle passwords, it needs a way to handle OTPs, etc. And my basic idea is to make a library that will implement all this business logic for creating user, editing user, resetting password, and so on. And will be, first of all, mockable, testable, and database agnostic. Of course, this library will already have some implementation of the major databases, but I still want to provide an interface that will allow users to create their own implementation for wherever database they gonna use. First of all, I developing this library for myself. I have very little experience with developing libraries, so I'm mostly working on executable projects, not libraries. So that's why it might be a bit different. Yeah, not that high quality, but we'll see. Since I don't have any feedback from the chat, so it's mostly will be a bit sad process. I'm gonna post maybe a link or something to get a bit of attraction. So, and another thing that I want to mention is, yes, I use a Copilot, and let's get to it. So, first of all, I probably need to define a library main struct, library initialization function, kind of it. Everything will be a very drafty, and another important thing, everything will be under MIT license. So let's get to it. I will have a GUM structure. The structure it implements interface. Basically, let's maybe rename it. Is it a good idea to name it with capital? I don't think so. Okay, let's leave it. So we'll have a GAM structure that will implement all the functionalities. And we'll have a function that's like exported function that says like new, will return. In the future, we'll have some kind of properties. We don't know yet what kind of properties these will be. So we want to have the functions that we will have. I don't want to create unnecessary abstractions beforehand. In the Golang, it's usually not a good idea to have any high level abstractions implemented before we have anything. So still, so there's like, we have a crude create, maybe I just would rename it to the crude user. And then we have the idea of having roles, we have permissions and so on. So, and I'm not sure yet, but it sounds like it's a good idea if we would have kind of a repository pattern going on here on that high level, that basically we have here like GAM, thing called user, and here will user repository, and basically this user repository, and here will be like roles, role repository, and what was there again? Permissions, yeah. Basically all they will be implement. This will make this whole thing not that big, like, so the GAM won't have like a huge interface. Instead of that as well, but this will make the situation with like mockability of this library, like it will be harder to make the mocks for that, because you will need to create mocks for the users repository, you will need to create mocks for. So my I'm struggling a bit with decision here, since I want this library to to be mockable. Still, it will be possible to do that. You would have these interfaces also exposed, and I really want to have this as clean as possible. Okay, let's go it then this way. Okay, so we'll have GAM interface. I will just comment them out, and then we'll have these repositories. It's a bit of a Java way of doing this thing, and usually we do not define interface beforehand. But how would it go? I'm just checking here like a different library that is similar, performing a similar task, kind of fish. Not similar task, but has similar structure. It's an intercom Go bindings. weirdly structured for my taste. Okay, let's do it then this way. We'll maybe have it in the internal structure. Hard decision. Okay, let's go with a flat structure. It's not that huge to make this super. We'll make a file called user. It's already existing. Okay, then we need a user repository kind of fish. So I already did it like for database kind of fish thing. Testing, let's get rid of this stuff. Maybe not all. Okay, so we'll have like a user repo.go, and this thing will have package gum, and this thing will have we can do something like that. I would remove the interface definition for now, just to keep it clean and everything. So then we have user service. User service basically implements maybe users service not like user repository, implements the all actions defined in this interface. We don't really need this interface definition. We need this interface definition only to make this thing in the later mockable. And the next step would be define the data structure. I already started defining this, how it would look like a single user. We always can add more fields to it. But for now, it looks like, okay, we have an ID, it's a unique ID, we have first name, last name. Later, if it's necessary, we can always add a middle name. Then we have like creation date, update date. Later, if we will have like login, we can always do like some login dates and so on. And then we need, I think, basically functions to define things. What kind of functions will be there? First of all, we need also a function that returns a new instance of this user service. And maybe we'll get rid out of this, and then later, as similar, like we will maybe pass here some other variable configuration, maybe like database connection and so on. First thing, it's creating user. Creation of the user, like, let's go like this. Okay, create user, but I'm not agree that there is this user object passed, because it's some fields are not really important. So what I thinking is I need some structure. Let's call it new user, and I think there should be like must-have things. Let's assume our sign up is for now based solely on email and required. Then we need a password. It also should be required. We assume for now, just so maybe also for later, I'm not sure exactly how the authentication should be done. Maybe we can make it tunable. So by default authentication, you pass a password and it's salted hashed, like cryptographically hashed, and after that it's not displayed. So basically we assume that library handles this whole password hashing, salting, and so on. Then we need first name, it can be optional, last name optional, and we just leave other things. Is request body for creating new user, I would say. That's kind of sounds okay for me. Then it as you see, like basically user object has a unique ID and created at thing. So what we would need is within this function, so without implementing, so I would go without implementing this, so defining rough structure of all this thing. So first of all, we would need to validate request, maybe rename it to rec. Then we need to generate ID for user. Maybe we need some kind of function to handle this situation. Then we need to create a user in database and return it. Basic stuff. So then we definitely need a function that will set. So forgot that hash password of user and store in the database. So my thought is that database storing password should be separated from the database storing user. Then we would need, a thing to update in existing user. I don't know. Copilot suggestion, validate request, like check if user exists, and here should be user. And I'm not real sure that should return any user. So basically, it's just if it returns an error if there is do it like error not implemented, and here too. So we need to import the FMT. And then there's two options. Like we need some kind of generic way of getting user by ID and or email or kind of this. So what I would think it's kind of get, and I want it to be very generic in terms of what it's accepting as a query. So I potentially, like, it's hard right now to think about, okay, what we will need, but the minimum that we might need is user request, the ID, where it's integer. Okay, so let's do it string. I don't like the ID to be integer. To be honest, it's only in relational databases. Does make sense. I would rather use a hash. Then email. So so let's say, so either ID or email should be inside. So if one or at least one of them should be set, so we will be able to use it. So I would say a request get user request. Let's say same idea, validation, and so on. And the cool thing is that we basically can write the validation as a function based on, so we'll do like new user, validate, and this will be internal function. We'll call it here if error validate, and I don't know, maybe it's not best idea, but I would do like return nil fmt error f and wrap it. Can always change it if later. If failed to create its user, something like that. Okay. Similar to that, we can do GUR Uh, I like how the Copilot basically handles all this stuff. So then we have get update, blah, 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 and we need maybe we don't need more of that. So we can basically get back to our repo. The old saying and the Go says pass interface return struct. So get it will be yeah. Okay, so since we defined this stuff here, maybe we need to move the user definition into the repo. Belongs better to there. And here's like solely re-implementation of all that stuff. And whole business logic stuff. Maybe do it here. So the new and validation stuff, and here these things too. Because it looks for me like more fits better. Okay, the user service structure implements the interface maybe with user repository interface. And now what we can do in the GUM, we can say, remove this comment in, and we can say this user accepts this one. We'll do a function called like do something like that, gum setup. Here will be some parameter, we don't know, database or something like that. And what we want to do is just say like gum user equal new user service. So let's say if here is like some will be some parameter, and it will be string, and it's important for initialization of the user service. Then it will be like it will pass it to the new service function. What I would do though is to make, since we're not exposing all that stuff, this function should be part of like internal usage, so would make it. Maybe in the future we'll put the user and user repo into the some package in the folder, and this won't be very won't be that like that way. Okay, so we have this thing. I just get rid out of this, and maybe in the internal. So we'd need a similar situation for the database. So password repo, Go, and package gum. What I want to think of like passwords as a is a separated database record. Single password in the system user. So I think user can have multiple passwords, but only one active. So the idea is I want to make this system eventually, so maybe we'll make these settings later, but eventually allow like do the check whether this password that user trying to set already has been set and so on. So this way the data structure should be defined accordingly. So each password should have own ID. Then it should have a linkage to the user, which user has this ID password, and then we need password hash. Maybe name it this way. So then does it want? Yeah, it's our linter. Okay. So and we want active or not. What I think should happen is when we create in a new record in database should make sure that there are only one active. And we should still also be able to check whether the certain password hash already has been used or not. Just in case. Then we want a timestamp, like created at. Oh, maybe we remove active. So the latest one always will be. So my idea is that we only have create and get functions. We're never able to update password. So we always create a new record. Since for a lifetime of user in the system, there is not many, so it will be an over-engineer right now to making sure that there's only 100 latest passwords saved or whatever. Usually users have one password, and it's like for lifetime of your usage of the account, it can be, I don't know, one user have like 5, 10, 15, and it still won't be a problem for none of databases. So I would go with like this way. I would think let's do this assumption. New password, same idea as with a password, new password. I want to, so here will be a password as a plain text password, and this is also required because yeah, maybe the logic of hashing and salting is makes sense here. Okay, then we need this structure called we need a function to validate that stuff, and just a password. Okay, so it will be a bit weird if we do it this way, to be honest. So that would mean that this repository should access so we need somehow pass like GOM. So if we're doing this, like for example, creation at this level, it's hard for us to access instance of password repository. So maybe you would need to kind of like do like a cross usage. It's not really cool stuff actually, but let's leave it for now. So we need type password service. It's a struct. And it also returns, and we have this create situation, and we have this get situation that we define. And now it's a moment of deciding which type of password management we want to use. No, we can go with a bcrypt as a default solution. Maybe just GitHub of the bcrypt. So Golang has bcrypt implementation. But yeah, let's step by step. So I want to do validation. Validation of the new password would be if we call then return fmt is required to create a new password. So it's a basic check-in, so nothing fancy. Maybe we can later add things. Same here. Okay, I just so makes sense. Then what we do? Create. Method using /password. So we'll use this validation. Failed to create password. Request invalid. okay, this will have that error included inside, and then we need to generate password. Yeah, maybe we need some kind of unified ID generation. And I would go actually with maybe UUID. Because it saves ton of time. It's maybe if I remember, it's wait a second. It's 4th version. Mm-hmm. Okay. What was the documentation of UUID? Go UUID. Okay, so it looks like everything right. So the thing with UUID, it's quite a stable thing to go. So since there's a very, very, very low chance of having a duplicate, it's nearly impossible and not worth of worrying about that, I guess. So we're not developing here like anything the level of that responsibility. So what I would do with bcrypt, it's I have here like my own code where I think it worked quite good. Maybe I'll find it quickly. Two kind of small functions that just wrap the bcrypt. bcrypt generates the password hash based on the with a defined complexity, so defined cost. The higher cost, the better the hashing and more secure. And the cool thing that you can increase it afterwards, so it's not that it's done once and completely insecure for the future. So in the future we can rerun the hashing and increase the cost of the situation. I just leave the default cost. Let's see how it goes. So we have this hash and salt stuff, and we have the check password hash. This thing, it's maybe we don't need it. So basically the idea is we do not compare hash directly to the password. We do not run this hash and salt again and compare the two strings. Because every time, whenever you run this function, even with the same input, so let's say if we would write the test here and we would put some password and run this test again and again, it always will return a different hash. And the only way to check this, to use this compare hash and password function of this library, because that's how the bcrypt works, and it's quite a neat thing. Highly suggesting. I don't know, maybe there's a new, more modern way of handling this situation, a better practice. If you know, let me know. So we're hashing this situation. So basically, password is converted to the byte array, and byte array is then hashed. Then we have this hash. So then now we need to create I don't know, PVD, let's call it like that. So ID we have, user ID there, hash there. Then we need created at. We would use here time, now, Unix, basically a timestamp. Yeah, and here will be we'll need to do save password to the database. We don't have database yet, and if everything fine, we would return error new. PVD. Okay, yeah. Then okay. So after validation, here will be some to do get from database. We don't have database. Maybe it's a time to get into the database stuff. The store. My suggestion with this is maybe just get rid of this stuff. and also this one. So store should be an interface too. So we should be able to provide custom stuff there. And for that, what I would do is like make oops, sorry for that. So what I would do is call it like a store, store Go, and package will be store. Here will be like type called store client. It's not interface, it's struct that will have another like repositories of inside of it. So in this case, password, user etc. And we have here like some kind of database situation passed, and it returns the client. Client on its own, it's a wrapper that has these things, and each of them, let's say it's also a folder package, call it password. Inside password Go, and here will be then actually this will be an interface, package type passwords store repository. So I'm a person who likes that data structures for store and data structure for like a outside facing interface, like basically for API for giving outside, they should be different in my personal opinions, because there is always something specific for store. And this is an idea, like this concept called repository pattern, when we have our repository, which is basically an interface, and then we have different implementations of vendors depending on which kind of database we want to implement for. And this would be like that. We would password repository, and here will be kind of we'll have some implementation of it. Right now I want to skip whole implementation part and focus on the definition part. Actually, we also could have defined models, let's say these models on the high level, and use them. Like here, say create. We cannot access these new password things. What we could do is say create a folder, and not here, create a folder in the roots, call it models, and inside of that we could have password Go and package models, and then it will be the same data structures. Maybe it's better solution than having it as a separated. then we need to go it this way. So we would go this, then copy here this thing too, because maybe not. So let's do it this way. Here will be models.password. This way, this data structure is shared between our core package and store package. And inside of that, we can always say, okay, here. For the creation, actually, I don't think we need to again return created one, because this is not a logic part. This is a store level. So maybe we just, it's a cool situation. Basically, it's a linter saying how we should name it to make it more readable. And we have this get situation, and in the get let's do it more specific, like get by user ID, and we'll have here user ID string, and get by ID, just to make it more explicit. Again, because it's a repository data level, not business logic, we can consolidate things there. And new returns that, and we have here repository. Okay. Eventually here on this level will be, let's say, like default Postgres ql.go, which will be, I don't know, like call it package password, type Postgres struct, which implements a repository interface for Postgres. That's an idea. And here will be some. I think first implementation for the database also will be Postgres, and see how it goes. Okay, so we have this definition of that situation, and we can go back to the here and define it here, like say password. We'll need password in the GUM level as well, because we will, for example, for the resetting password or maybe other functionalities, and that's why it's kind of important. So let's do here maybe a config type user service config, and here will be this repository source, because we need it to inside. CFG config, and we do it this way. Okay, just let's get here models. Then what we need inside of this structure, it's an access to database to the store. Let's call it just store because in the context of this thing, maybe we don't need store dot maybe password. Can I do it like this way? Maybe just for making it clear, so that way. Okay, and inside of that, we just call error equal store creates this one define. It has, but it says it doesn't. Okay, it shouldn't be with a dot. It's an interface. Okay. Okay. So creating, and if error failed to create password, wrap an error, return an error. Otherwise, return. Yeah. So this was the creation of that stuff. Models. Getting. So in the getting, as we defined in the database repository, like stored repository, we have two different methods. So if we have ID, which is more a unique situation, we would go with get by ID, and it should return PVD error, and if error, let's wrap it, fail to get passwords. Otherwise, return this one. The thing with a user ID, so if we just creating the records and doing them, so we need that function. We'd go to here and say this function. It's just important to mention. So it will be an array. Let's define it by ID. Returns a slice of passwords for given user ID. Sorted by created at fields in descending order. So this would make biggest sense. So and make it limit hard. Returns last 10 passwords by default. Maybe more. Let's do it 100, just to be on the safe side. Passwords. Okay. Good. Why would need ever return on passwords is just to make sure that if someone's setting a new password, this password is not used already like a couple of times ago. Just to keep it on that side. I don't think it's like a best practice. Just adding this limitation would make sense for now. Then we have PVDs. So same idea, fail to get passwords. And here's a question. Okay, I did on the comment on the wrong section, and this will be here. So we would leave that wrapped situation, like the whole logic of checking if the password is already used and so on will be inside of the password resetting logic. That's why what we need here is to check if PVD is 0, then return an error actually, because it would be FMT. Let's have fail to get password, something like that. Otherwise, return the first one, because these are already sorted by descending order. On the first number, first index will be the latest created, therefore the active password. Maybe we don't need this situation here, because we do check and validate on the first level, and this way. Yeah, so this is a basic stuff for the password. And I would say let's commit all these changes in the first place. It's a bunch of stuff, actually. Okay, let's do the passwords first. Store, password, models, password repo. Gum, this one. Name it feed, add password, story, and store service, and store repository. Some file does not have saved changes. Yeah, save it. Okay, then we do the user service feed, Add user service. CICD. This would be add Golang CI lint. And so I add also makefile. This would be kind of a config. Readme. And the rest, I also like to vendor things, so I'm one of those weirdos. I would just vendoring, separately commit this stuff and push it to the GitHub. Until now, the repository was in as a private repository, and I would make it right now public. Change visibility, change to public. Yes, make this repository public. Okay, I just want to show it here. All what was done right now, it's inside there. We've committed all these changes. There was some previous commits as well, where I just tried to draft a project. You can, of course, make PRs or comments on it, so do your suggestions or whatever. I will really appreciate any feedback on that. And yeah, here's like a small typo. Do not use. Yeah. At this point, I would like to finish for today, and I will do basically whole development of this thing. I plan to do streams, and hope people will join, see it, look at it, and maybe also participate on this development. I'm really not sure about all this data structure stuff and how this library is structured. Maybe it's a really dumb idea, but at this point I don't have any better ideas on how to handle this structure. But yeah, let's see how it will go. Thank you very much for everyone who joined and checked this stream, and wish you have a nice rest of the day and whatever time is on your half of the world. See you then later. Bye bye.